Oh, hello, Studio 108 community. I'm so glad that you clicked in and that you're following us today. I'm sitting with my dear friend and colleague, Corey Woodrum, and I don't know, it took us a while to get started because we couldn't stop chatting. So
Outer space.
we were way in outer space and out into future plans and other offerings and collaborations. We're solving the world problems here. So I'm glad you're joining us. Corey, I'm glad you're here.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Really big endeavor that Corey took on. Actually, he took it on right after his 500-hour yoga teacher training.
Yeah.
Immediately packed his bags and headed to Kripalu in Western Mass, in the beautiful Berkshire Mountains. And he's spent the last 2 years or 3 years.
June of 22 was
2.5 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So last 2.5 years earning his yoga therapy certification. So just to give you a little breakdown, the Yoga Alliance is what kind of governs yoga teachers in studios and in the general public way. Then there's a whole nother organization. It's the International Association for Yoga Therapy, and they govern and regulate and really do a ton of research and a lot of good work around yoga therapy and the benefits of yoga in a multitude of different settings and ways. And so Corey's going to unpack a little bit of that for us today, but it's definitely a rigorous program. It's a demanding program. It's completely research-based, legitimate, really well done. So congratulations to you for taking that really big step.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's a nice prop for E-RYT. They during last module once a year they bring the E-RYT community in. So a lot of thought leaders and white papers in science. They had a kind of a reverse expo, if you will, for people to come in and show off, the work, studies, outcome, white paper, publishings, all within the field of yoga therapy. So it was really interesting to be finishing up a program where there's so much activity and buzz.
And it's boots on the ground
all over the world.
Yeah, it's boots on the ground buzz. Like I got my undergrad in music therapy in 1988, 1989, and now it's boots on the ground buzz. But at that point, it was just buzz. It was just struggling to get research, dollars, recognition, like all of it kind of. And I ended up exiting out early. I was just too young to be patient for all that. And, I did other things, but now the sound healing coming back and now seeing what's happening to yoga therapy, I think the time is really now for these alternate. Yeah, it's fascinating and it's legitimate. And it's such a refreshing, optimistic look at what wellness can be and what healing can include and what we as human people can really come to actualize, not just surviving and getting by and feeling fine and okay, but getting excited about our lives and really thriving and having that kind of experience be, it is a privilege, but not just for the privileged.
So I'm just gonna thank you because you just defined yoga therapy for me. Good, and I was like kind of spinning over the last couple of days. Shit, what are we gonna think about for like a good definition to talk about it? But I think that's it. I think if you've been in yoga for a while, there's these realizations that happen about how it's helped you mentally, physically, spiritually, right? But when you get to see that in action with other people, kind of takes on this other level, other layer, and the body is so inherently capable of healing itself.
Say that one more time.
The body is so inherently capable of healing itself.
Yeah, and I think like
it just really asks for us to go, get out of the way, please. Yeah. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and it's worth like pausing for a deep breath. The body is inherently capable of healing itself. Like that really shows us where our belief systems can be anchored.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think intuitively most people get that with just little coaching. So I was lucky enough to start my practicum in 2022. And I know other students in the various cohorts started their practicum at different times, but I think I might have been one of the longest running students that had started really early with working with clients. And it gave me a really interesting perspective of how to leverage some of the information that we were getting throughout the program over the last 2.5 years, apply that back with clients as I was working with them, but also having 2.5 years to see people's transitions,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And going back to their original intake form, like 2 years later, and go, Trace, I'm just going to slide this across the table. I want you to look and reread it. I know you haven't seen this piece of paper in 2 years, but these are the things that you saw, that you felt and identified as imbalances in your life, right? And any one of those layers of the kosha, how does that hit today? And you're like, oh, that's a different person. Like
Right? Like, and we don't often get that. We don't often get that really literal, tangible, like, mirror to say, wow, I have come a long way. And when the growth is incremental, it's even difficult to appreciate the value of what's getting you there. Like, it's even difficult to appreciate the value of the service that's helping you get there, because it's incremental and it can be, your nose is so close to it, you have a hard
and
time
also what you're doing,
appreciating.
right? I mean, it takes a big commitment.
Mhm.
Uh, God has blessed me richly with the clients that I've gotten to experience. And most of my client base has been in oncology. And I think that seeing them move through their different various stages of wellness, identifying a disease state, has been powerful to watch that transformation. But I think they get to see just how different they were mentally from accepting the disease, being scared of the disease, looking at the medicine or chemo as things to kill cancer versus something that's medicine to help them feel better, right? Just even the small identification about how you are seeing and interpreting
The
steps of the
relationship.
process.
Yeah, and the relationship, it's so and this is probably true of more than cancer, this is probably globally true. But we tend to, like, approach something first, something that is non-desirable to us, as the victim.
Yeah.
And, like, kind of coming through a progression where you can come into relationship with it and be the victor around it in whatever way that means, whether it becomes smaller or you're able to, like, literally set it aside or whatever. Like, that is such a critical and overlooked, forgotten, neglected step of healing. Like, that's critical.
Yeah. Okay, so this is why we started late. Did I jump you off of your agenda?
Little step points, we'll talk this, that, and the other, but wasn't that more interesting?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's a lot to think about there too. Okay, so we'll swing back to it, but what I'd like to hear is, not everybody knows you, Corey. So, I mean, I know more Corey than you did 10 minutes ago, but tell us just a little bit about your background and
Sure, yeah.
and yourself personally.
Yeah, my yoga journey started with just a aging body, a little prematurely aging body, and knees, hips, joints, and was just really uncomfortable. And my mom had suggested, you should try yoga. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
aren't you just like stretching and stuff? And mom just, did her typical wisdom smile, and she was like, okay. So I started online with Yoga with Adrian, and had a very quick, like within the first 2 weeks, like, I'm not waking up with knee pain. I still feel it. There's still some tenderness, but it's not waking me up at night. Like, there might be something to this healing. And so started practicing with mom, started doing yoga with you and at Cleveland Yoga.
Nice to meet you.
At Bliss. It was DJ Taz Rashid did that DJ flow class.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I don't even
Back when
remember
we were
what year it was
kids.
that. Back when we were like, we were really kids. Like afterwards, Corey was like, "Hi," and like I met you, and yeah, Heather introduced us.
Yeah, I
Heather
had
was
just
new
finished
too.
up I think my 200 at that point, with Amanda Yoga Strong.
Yeah,
Um, was feeling out 300s.
it was a sweaty class too.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, yeah, you're
It was a good
lucky
time.
because you were sweaty and gross, and well, like, here we are, friends.
Like, you should think about it 300. I was like, all right. But yeah, because I was going to start my 300 during the pandemic, and was going to do Kripalu's yoga therapy program.
Yeah.
And they shut down campus for the pandemic, and you're like, I'm doing mine, just moved into the valley, and I'm like, cool. So we got the
And you got
uh,
to transition
we
into
were
the
the
studio.
cohort that got that really cool transition from down in the valley to this beautiful space.
Yeah,
You know, and it was
that
just
was a
peeling
really
black
special
floor,
year.
and we got to start with doing a little you know, blessing of the space
Oh
and
my
watching it get
gosh.
built out. And
Corey put all the stickers on when you come in, there's a spot to put your mat. Corey's like super like specific and detail oriented. So I was like, Corey, we need these spots to be evenly spaced.
we chalked out the floor, we had everything packed in space, we looked at it like 30 times and then started sticking.
Like, you so know I would never do that. Could you have seen me? Oh my God, it would have been the worst day of my life. Corey's like, no, he's measuring and doing math. It all looks perfect. And that was a great year too, because your mom was a
Yeah.
part of that. And she would bring you that little trail mix stuff. And
Yeah.
it was just a fun year.
Yeah, I don't think most people know that Mom and I did our 200-hour teacher training together, our yin yoga teacher training with Matt, our 300-hour TT with you together. And then we've taught at the same studio on and off for about a decade.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, you might know, this community might know Fran if you've been in the community a while, because she taught the yin classes on Monday night. Well, maybe it was hot and yin. Maybe there were two classes.
Yeah, she did yin and power for a while.
Yeah, there were two classes on Monday night. So it was a while ago. These guys live down in Akron, so it's a bit of a drive. Cuyahoga Falls, it's a little bit of a drive for them. So it was hard for her to keep that. She teaches during the day.
Yeah, and she's taught at a bunch of studios.
She's taught like down there a lot, yeah, for sure. So
Teacher.
I know.
Might be a little.
One of the most compassionate teachers. Yeah, really connects well with people.
Yeah.
You know, she cares about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's me. And then during the day, I work in corporate America and have an interesting profession, mostly around pricing operations. And started 800 yoga therapy, as we talked about at the beginning of this. And
okay, so here's, let's do the math. 200 came first.
Yeah.
And then you did the yin thing. Was that 40 or 50 hours?
It was 100 hours.
100 hours,
Yeah.
okay. And then add 300 for the 300 you did with me.
Yeah.
And then add
800
for yoga therapy. So can you see how it like changes the playing field to go from like yoga alliance, yoga teacher to the therapy? It's a pretty rigorous program. Yeah. So I'm really excited always to hear your perspective on things, because well, I think we both like to think, so that's nice. But also because you bring such a fresh, different perspective now, like from all those experiences. It's really really fun to engage in conversation and things around that. So when it comes to yoga therapy, can you tell us, because you have 2 sessions on Friday nights coming up, like, is this for people whose knees hurt? Is this for people who have cancer? Is this for people who, like, what would this yoga therapy opportunity for this community be about?
Yes, right. So I think the unique perspective that yoga therapy provides is the ability to tailor individual experiences into your yoga. And I'm not talking our Western interpretation of yoga, which is mostly asana, right? The poses, down dog. There are all of the other elements of yoga that we can bring in and really tailor in either individual or group practices. We incorporate and take forms that look at the person's kind of whole wellness at the layer of the kosha. So there are questions about Anamaya kosha.
Okay, so yeah, let's go through each kosha. So
Sure.
the first one that you think of is Anamaya kosha.
Yeah. Physical body. So
Physical body.
how do you feel? Anything in your body that's sore? Um, uh, uh, Strength, sturdiness, balance. So not a ton of questions, but the intake form has a variety of different questions, and we have different intake forms or different ways to assess through some really interesting assessment tools that we got from one of the professors in our program is a DPT, and so her
doctor of physical therapy.
Yeah, her 2.5 decades worth of work at the VA, doing physical therapy, doing yoga therapy, doing physical assessment. She has brought a bunch of that into the program.
So if that's sort of the focal area, it can get really specific in terms of
we can go as deep as we need to. Yeah, and so if we see imbalance, we can drill in, and if it looks okay, we can move on to the next kosha.
Okay. Anamaya kosha, physical body. Next.
So as we look at pranamaya kosha, energy, how are you sleeping? Do you feel rested when you wake up? Do you get tired or drowsy throughout the day? And we can assess that through same thing, tons of different tools. So if there's a little rabbit hole, we can chase it all the way down and help the individual look for ways of finding balance again. Do you know how to breathe? What's that opposite breath pattern called when the diaphragm moves in the opposite way of the so there's really interesting things that you can start to notice and see just as people walk in once you've done.
And it's all kind of embedded because physical Anamaya kosha can affect pranamaya kosha. Like the koshas are like
they're all hugging.
Yeah, they're all hugging. I like that one. I always describe it. It's not like you put on a shirt like layering. It's more like the interweaving of plaid, or it all kind of like is interwoven, but hugging is a good idea too. So Anamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, physical body, breath.
Yep. And when we think about mind and emotion, you're anxious, are you depressed? How do those things continue to
for most of us, yes and yes.
Yeah, right.
I'm here, so therefore I am.
Yeah. And then like what's the progression of that look like? Do you feel like you have tools to manage through that? But Madhumaya kosha is really interesting. Because I think we all can identify each level of the kosha, but I think Madhumaya, especially in the times we're in, you've got to be in a dark spot to not see some of the divisive behavior and personality and lack of conflict resolution and ability to talk right now in our climate. And so I feel like that layer of the body, that anxiety that comes when you're like, I'm not really sure how to interact with people who think differently than me. I'm not sure if there's even opportunity for open, meaningful conversation.
And those people just aren't coworkers anymore. They're like in your house. They're like getting closer and closer with people. So
I think just the ability to have safe, open dialogue is also a huge part, right? I think people are like, what does a yoga therapist do? And it's like kind of everything. We know what our lane is, right? So if it's turning into talk therapy, I'm going to find a psychologist for you, right? If you're in acute pain when we're doing some assessment, we're probably going to find a PT or a doctor for you to go check in. But our breadth of practice is huge.
Yeah. And you have a specific modality that you're working through too. So on the physical.
Physical body, energetic,
mental.
Mental, and then Vijnanamaya kosha. I always like to call this, I think witness is a regular one, but to me it's that like person looking down, right? There's no appreciation or attachment to feelings. It's just what is, right? And one of my teachers early on explain this is like, I'm waking up in the morning and I've got a terrible stomach ache and I'm not sure why. Last night I ate an entire McDonald's big box, the like 2 Big Macs and 2 single cheeseburgers and 4 fries. Of course not. But if you smash an entire one of those and then you wake up in the morning like, Vinyana Maya Kosha is going, how do you not see that? Right. So when there's an imbalance at that level, for whatever reason, right? Stress, anxiety, past traumas, there are things that start to dull your ability to see clearly
Also
into
experience. I mean,
oh yeah,
for some, it's just we didn't grow up in a culture or
we weren't given some of the tools that we needed in order to
deal with what's going on these days.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And then Ananda, the bliss body, just the spiritual connection and feeling
family connection, right?
Purposeful.
So it's interesting once you work yourself all the way up that kosha model, you start getting into base chakra stuff, right? Which is, what's my place? Who am I? Do I have a good family? Some of those spiritual aspects that connected that, like, who am I and what do I mean, and what's something else outside of me, whatever you define that as, right? Could be religion, could be spirituality, hopefully it's somewhere in between, or maybe encompassing both. But those are the layers, I think, that you really start to see some change.
Interesting.
And so once we get the physical body like calm enough, I can sit for a little bit of time without being in a bunch of pain, or I can have the energy to sit up and connect. And I'm not too anxious or depressed where my mind isn't taking me one way or the other. And you have that clear seeing body, then you start to like dig deep into that like really low murky soil, right? That's really rich of minerals and details and things that can go, oh, maybe a lot of this interesting problems I'm having is me, right? You tend to unearth a lot of mirrors in this process, right? Look back at yourself.
To what's available right now, or what people could be experiencing right now, is just the lostness that comes with waking up, like becoming more sensitive, becoming more intuitive, becoming more aware of misalignments and places where you're not satisfied in life, you're not at peace with yourself, and not having a place to kind of connect with others around.
So what does that mean, or what habits did that create?
Yeah. And how can I grow through it? Instead of collapsing into it.
Sure.
How can I just sort of accept?
I think that was the hardest part of going through this program, honestly, for me, was if you haven't been to Kripalu before, it is a heavy lift. It is a big ask. There is silence every single day through breakfast. Like midday, you can start to talk again on campus. You're not allowed to have your phone, computer, electronic devices on campus or out. And then the program rooms, we start at 6 a.m. and we go to 6 p.m. every single day. So if you're there for 14 days, you're in class 14 straight days from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for introverts like me and Corey that just need a minute. just like
there are a couple of times, during class, you're like, all right, I'm gonna see you later. I gotta get out of here. This is it's heavy. It's heavy.
Gonna hide for a minute,
And what's interesting is and I tell this to this story a couple of times, but every time I get home from another immersion in Kripalu, first thing I do, and actually Nick told me this, my partner, my better half, is that I usually come home and will apologize immediately for nothing. Because you know how it gets when you've been in a relationship for a long time. We're closing in on 15 years, right? And you're just like so tense and like so at each other, right? And then you like step back and you're like, man, our relationship would be great, Tracy, if you didn't do this and you didn't do this and you didn't do this. Right. And then you separate yourself and you uncover some of those mirrors that show the perspective of what you're giving off. And you're like, shit, this is me. This isn't you. Oh man. I should probably call and text and apologize now. you
Yeah.
know, it just, I think it helps you really scrape, um, that ego out of the equation, right?
Yeah,
And
I
own
mean,
things that you're responsible for, be able to communicate calmly and, positively,
100%.
about the things that you need and the things that you think, your partner needs, whether that's client, friend, family, wife, husband.
Yeah, and it's you can't really do it when you're embedded in the situation.
Yeah.
There needs to be like a dedicated time and it's dedicated, trusted, neutral person to kind of walk through that
Yeah.
with you.
So that's my circle back
Yeah,
to, who needs yoga therapy. I think all of us do, right?
yeah, yeah.
I get
And
it
I
in,
mean, it's going to be a kind of an experience that has more active engagement, meditation, breath, and movement, like yoga practice. Like it's not, you don't have to just sit there and pull things out of thin air. There are activating experiences that can
yeah.
kind of help you
Yeah, yeah,
work
and I
through
like to
it.
build my yoga workshops into a coaching model and just give a brief explanation as you go through it, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're just gonna break things down to the physical body. So like forget all the things that you like.
Yeah. Today we're right here.
Let's just get you comfortable in your body,
Yeah.
right? Let's ease the sacrum, let's get your feet up, let's get you grounded on the ground, let's get you like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna take a breath. That's all we're doing. Do you know how much relief that is for the subconscious and the, well, I mean, right?
Yeah. But,
It's
just felt it
powerful,
again.
right? It's
Yeah. It's super
powerful.
powerful.
So once we break through that and when, we get you like
Mhm,
ratcheted down a little bit,
mhm. In your body.
yeah,
Hmm.
what an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Now we can work through some of those spaces. Now we might be able to open up a door, which is not here to necessarily solve,
Right.
but we're gonna allow you to open some doors that you might want to go through and poke your foot in or like jump in. It's up to
And
you.
it's an intimate experience. So within you,
Yeah,
like I know within me, within you, like everybody's kind of like in their own journey
yeah.
with it.
Which makes it a little bit more challenging as a teacher because you really want to give that individualized experience with the class with wellness goals and objectives that align to what that student came for and what they're
Yeah.
working towards.
Yeah.
So in group settings, a little bit more challenging. I really felt that stretched me as a teacher.
Mhm.
But you take those uh, lessons and those individual dynamics into all the rest of your classes, right? When you're in top
100%.
power, then you can start to like physical assessment and skeletal and advanced anatomy cues of looking at a body and starting to go, I know that body and I know that that's in a really compromised space right now and it's mostly covered by the clothes and it'd be really hard for you to notice that, but you can see like little bits of strain or little bits of
Absolutely.
where you
Tension.
can help a student
Mhm.
enjoy safely, right, their power practice or their yin practice, or
100%.
have more ease and comfort or find a place to just sit where you can meditate. And if you can't do great lotus pose and you're actually just laying down flat on your back with maybe like a bolster under your legs, is that not meditation? Oh my God, yes, of course it is. Why,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I'm excited about for the studio is breaking down some of those expectations around yoga as well. First of all, plug and chug for everyone. Second of all about fancy asanas. I mean, those of us who have done yoga quite a while have been injured by yoga and overstretched by yoga. And so I want to bring in things that are smarter and that are going to create sustainable practices and that let people move in all of these different directions. So Corey mentioned 5 directions, right? Like physical, energetic, mental, emotional,
Witness.
wisdom, witnessing wisdom, and then that sense of spiritual radiance and whatever that connection means to you. So there's opportunity across this whole spectrum to really get what you personally are looking for in any given moment. And yeah, I'm excited to have you because December is going to give folks an opportunity to like have a more personal conversation about that and to have Corey as a resource for ideas and strategies and practices that might be specifically helpful to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And good homework, right?
And good
We're
homework.
chugging
You're
through
gonna
the
get
beginning.
homework.
We're gonna start January in the new year. So instead of like December 31st after 3 glasses of champagne, you're like, what's my New Year's resolution? You'll be like, oh my God, okay. Maybe plan for it. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna create a little bit of space for a little mindfulness going into the new year.
Perfect.
So what are two really easy, really simple practices that you can add in, right? Like, all right, I know that this cup that I have is 8 ounces. And before I have my morning coffee, before I do anything, before I start my day, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna drink 8 ounces of water.
Right.
Amazing what that does for the body.
Amazing what that does for the body.
We overcomplicate wellness,
Super simple.
right? All the time.
Well, is that one thing, something I can make a commitment to and do it? Yeah.
Huge win.
So you are December 13th and December 27th.
Yes.
And we're gonna have 2 opportunities for people to kind of get specific ideas towards the new year. And then I hope you'll be back in the new year. I kind of think so.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
The magnet's really strong to this place, if you guys don't know that. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, we love having Corey here too. Awesome. I think that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot for folks to kind of mull over.
Yeah.
I hope it was helpful, you guys. I hope
Yeah.
it was really helpful.
It's just it's a calm space where you can come in, you can move a little bit, you can relax, you can just let things kind of melt in.
Yeah.
Get prep for the holidays.
Yeah,
That's all that entails, right? Or it doesn't.
2 opportunities to kind of step out of the holiday blitz and have an hour for yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2 Friday nights.
Yeah.
I hope we see you. Awesome. Corey, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Trace.
Aw.
As always.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for following. Go with many blessings. Remember who you are.